All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I've been resorting to doing some of these extra ASP.NET exercises from our textbook, Murox ASP.NET 4.6 Web Programming with C# 2015 6th edition. I've kind of resorted to do some of them on tape because I've been having problems in class. They seem to work fine when I tape them. Then I do them in class, and they don't seem to work so fine. So I'm going to try to create this right here that you see in front of you. And what it is it's an application that displays in a drop-down list this different states, and for each state it has a list of the customers, their last name, first name, email, and even though it's a bit repetitive there, their state, but their state abbreviation. This is in a data list. So I'm going to take it from the top. I've already got the product or project open. So just so you see this, and there's nothing up my sleeve, so to speak. I'm starting with a brand new slate. So here's the default.aspx file. That's not what I wanted, that's global. So here's my default ASPX file. And as you can see, it says, put this here, put this here. So as I always do, I'm going to take about 30 seconds, I'll probably be closer to about 2 minutes, and clean this up so it's ready to go. When I say clean it up, I mean make it look the way I like my documents to look. So again, when I tried doing this in class, for whatever reason, even though I'd done it previously, and even though I had the answer key from when I did it previously in front of me, I had nothing but problems with it. So I've decided to try and do it again, see if I can make it work a little bit slicker. I am printing off some stuff behind me. It should be done printing very quickly, and then that noise will go away. So right now, this is all I have. Okay, choose a state, the state drop-down list, etc. You can see what's going where. All right, so there is literally the equivalent of just about nothing in this project so far. All right, myself some nice room here. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to follow the steps. You know the drill. So I've opened it. The application is a starting page, a database image, and style sheets. Okay. Open the default page. I did. Add a drop-down list inside the div that indicates it should contain the drop-down list. Okay, so let's do that first. Oops. I guess to do that, I'm going to have to go back into here and show my toolbox. And again, we want our drop-down list. Put it right where it says state drop-down goes here. Well, I'm going to put it there and then hit enter so it goes on a new line. All right, so that's our drop-down list, and they will, I think they tell us later to call this DDL states, drop-down list states. Okay, and there's other things that we're going to end up adding into here in just a bit. So, all right, so that's our start. Again, I don't want to jump ahead. I want to follow what it says in the book. So, configure it so that it includes, after that you can continue working in source view or switch to design view, and I think I mentioned this in class. I go back and forth between the two. Configure the data source for the state, for the drop-down list, so that it includes the state code and state name from the state table sorted by state name, and make sure that, okay, so let's do all that. So what we want to do is right after our drop-down list here is we want to add our data source. SQL data source. Okay. We'll keep the ID the way it is. We'll have the run at equals server here. And then we'll come in and try at least to configure this. So this is everything. So I want to come back into design mode and let's see if we can configure this. I've had problems in the past trying to configure this, but we'll see if we have it or not. Halloween MDF. Next. Connection string. Let's call this Halloween connection string. All right, now that's telling it to save it in the web config file. This is the error I get sometimes. I hate that. I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to cancel this and then see if I can make this work. So what do? I view, and instead of this, I want the Server Explorer in here. All right, notice there is no connection. So I do this. I want this set, that's set there. Okay, I want the Halloween database. So that's filled in. Windows authentication is fine. So right now the DB file name looks like it's set up. The data source looks like it's set up. All right, test the connection. Still says it doesn't work. That's not good, but we're going to say okay anyway. All right, and it looks like now we've got a connection, as you can see there. All right. So there's more we have to do here, though. Now let's see if we can go further. So we come in here, we say Halloween MDF. We click Next. We say Halloween connection string. We click Next. Now we're not getting our error. That's good. So we want to come in here and we want to specify columns from a table or view. We want to choose states and have state code and state name. So that's that. All right. We want to do an order by, and we want to order it by state name. So we got that. Plus we want to do a where. And the column we want is, again, I want to make sure that I'm not leaving you in the dark on anything. Find the drop-down list so the state name is displayed and the state code is returned by the selected value in the list. All right, so we want state code equal to a control. What control? DDL states. All right, that's everything, but we have to click Add to put that down here. Click Add, say OK. All right, we say Next. Now, if we test it, I still don't like this. We should be getting a state there, and I have no idea for the life of me why we're not, but I'm just going to keep going. So I click Finish. Now I should be able to come into here, into my code, go into source mode, and there should be a bunch more stuff in there. All right, so there's the drop down, run at equals server. There's my connection string, but the actual connection string itself should be in my web.config file. And there's the connection string. So that's what was added by me choosing that. All right. Even if for some reason this doesn't work, I'm at least going to be able to show you most of the stuff that should work in here. And for the life of me, if it doesn't work, I won't know why. All right, so here's our select statements. So the code, the name, I'm putting it on different lines just because so you can see what goes with what. So there's our entire select statement. All right. We're going to have select parameters that are basically set up for us. DDL states, state code, selected value, type string. That all looks good as far as I can tell. All right. Now, my guess is that if I save this and try to run it, it's not going to give me anything because that's the kind of luck I've been having lately, and I don't know why for the life of me. So let's just go on. All right. I know there's some stuff that I need from my SQL data source still. So I did the binding. Change the name of the drop-down list to DDL state. Okay, I made mine states, but I can make it state. That's what you want. So DDL state. I'm going to have to add a few more values right here. So let's look at what we add. Set the auto postback property to true and the CSS class to form control. So auto postback equal true. CSS class equal form control. All right. Now, I'm going to look back at my own notes and make sure I haven't missed anything. Okay. Drop-down list. That looks good there. Choose a state. That looks good. We have not set up. We have to set up the other stuff that's in here. In other words, we have to, and I don't know why that's not set up, but our data source ID has got to be set equal to SQL data source 1 because I haven't changed the name. All right, so there's the first thing. Secondly, I need to set my data text field, and that needs to be set to state name. And then finally, I need my data value field, I believe, and that's state code. All right, that should be everything. So let's save and let's run it and see if we get any kind of result whatsoever. Fingers crossed. Error, could not find DDL states. Okay. And I think that's because I changed it from DDL states to DDL state, so that's on me. There's the control parameter. Let's just change it back in here to its original name, which was DDL states. Okay? All right. You have to be consistent, and I don't think that that's anything that you don't know. Now, if I do all this and I still get no output, for the life of me, I have no idea why, because I did this the other day, and I didn't tape it, but I tried it just for the heck of it, working around, and it worked just fine. Choose a state. Doggone it, that should not be empty. Well, let's go on and see if we can get it fixed. I don't, for the life of me, know what the problem is. It appears as though, even though I'm telling it to make this connection here, it's not making the connection. All right, and again, for the life of me, not sure why. If I knew, I would be more than happy to tell you. See, that Halloween connection string is still, try to refresh that. Okay, that's all I did was refresh it. And let's save, let's try to run it one last time. And regardless of whether it works or it doesn't work, I'm going to go on then. Still not showing a state. Doggone it. All right, I'm going on anyway. All right, so maybe the class can figure out for me what I'm doing wrong. Run the application, review the data, select a few states. That's not working. In the source view, add a data list control inside the div that indicates it should have the customer data list. So let's put that in. So that's right here. Stop the run. I'm going to have to go back into my toolbox here. Now, if it's ever the case between it working for me or working for the students, always want it to work for the students. If it doesn't work for me, it doesn't work for me. All right, so here's our data list. We're going to have to add a few more things to that, but we'll do that momentarily. All right, so there's our data list right there. All right, add a data list control inside the div that indicates it should contain the customer data list. Change its names to DL customers. After that, you can continue. Yeah, okay, that's all fine. Okay, so let's change the name right away to DL customers, plural. All right. Configure the data source, so we have to add a data source for the data list, so that it uses the connection string that's in the web.config file, so it also selects the last name, first name, email, and state columns from the customer table, sorted by last name and then by first name. It should select only the customers that are selected from the drop-down list. All right. So, let's see. Again, we want put in our data key field here, and I believe that this is going to be set to email. And we want our data source ID set up, but before we do that, let's add another data source right there. So I can come in here, grab it, throw it in. There it is. It's going to be called, oh, that was the wrong thing to add, I'm sorry. I want an SQL data source right there. Notice it's called data source 2 by default, which is fine. All right. So we want the data source for this to be equal to SQL data source 2. All right, that should be a little O. And we have to come in and configure this data source. So let's come in and do that right now. Okay, so we come back into design mode. There's our second data source. Boom, configure it. We should be able to tell it now to work with our Halloween connection string. Click next. All right, and what we're told again that, or what we want to do here for this data source is we want to go to the customers table. And from the customers table, we want last name, first name, email, state, from customers, good. All right. We want to order it by first the last name, secondly the first name. So if we have matching last names, then it'll go by first name. We also want to do our where here, and we want to do it again where the state is equal to our control, and it will be DDL states as far as I know. All right, we want to click add and OK. And we want here, so our entire query is select last name, first name, email, state from customers, where state equals the param state, order by last name, first name. That is correct. Next. And if I test it, I'm still not getting anything. That is never a good sign. All right, I'm going to click finish. My guess is that when I get done and I run all this, I'm going to have absolutely no output. Okay? Which I don't like, but hey, I want to go on because I want to go on. All right, so what we should do is go back here to the data source and kind of pretty it up just a tad. So there's the connection string. I can push this over for just a bit. So our connection source again is our Halloween connection string. Our select command. So let's put this over a couple lines. Got those fields from that table where that's done in our order by. All right, so that's everything. And then we have our select parameter. Okay, which has got everything. This was already set up for us by us making all those selections inside of, all right, making all those selections inside of the associated dialog box. All right, so let's see where we are in here. So I configured it, so it did all this. That was fine. Now I'm supposed to run the application, review the data in the data list and the default layout. Select a few lists to make sure the customer list is working right, stop, and you are done. Again, my guess is, for whatever reason, this is not going to work, and I wish for the life of me I knew why. But whatever it is, it may be something quite simple. Usually with me, the things that are the simplest are the hardest for me to figure out. But if it comes up and there's nothing in the state, of course, not a good sign, because that'll mean there'll be nothing down below. So this should be giving me the states in here, and when I click, it should be giving me the customers here. Everything, to my knowledge, is set up correctly. Now what I'm going to do when I get done with this is I'm going to go through this line by line with my quote answer key unquote that I'd done earlier that worked just fine. And again, it worked just fine. So why doesn't it work now? If I knew that, I would fix it. Everything here is set up. So if I knew why it was not working correctly, I would certainly tell you, because I want it to work. Believe it or not, probably more than you want it to work. All right, so I've got all that stuff. If I go back here and I go back and I look again and I do a view and I look at my Server Explorer, again, it looks like that connection string is not correct if you look at that. So if I right mouse click on it and I choose refresh, then it goes away. And it's showing me my table, so my data is there. All right, but why, when I run this, I'm getting nothing is way over my pay scale. I don't understand why. All right, so let's just come in and we'll add the information here. Again, I'm trying to add this for consistency's sake. I want to go through steps 10 through 17, so even if it doesn't work, when I get done, I'm going to go through this line by line and see if I can figure out why it doesn't work. All right, so the first thing I want to do is to add a header template. And I'm going to put this right after my data list. So there's a couple things I think I should check on my data list. All right, and such as, there's my drop-down list, but there's my data list. So how about here? I've got auto post back as true. That's good. And I want the CSS class. It's not going to be form control, but I'll grab this stuff anyway. So down here, there's my data source. Auto post back, I want equal to true. The CS class, I'm going to put in a bunch of table classes. So I want table, table bordered. I gotta spell table right. Table striped, table condensed. Okay. And we also want, for accessibility, use accessible header equal to true. All right, that should be everything that's here. Now, I've got the item template, but first I want to put in my header template that goes along with it. So there that is. You may or may not remember, but putting that in are a bunch of span tags. Okay, so that's the first one, and we need forum, so I'm just going to cut and copy it. this over. And there we go. So we've got 3, 3. This will be 5. Remember, the whole thing should ideally equal 12. 3, 6, 11, 12. We got last name. We have first name. We have email. And we have the state. So that's why they've been sized the way that they've been sized. All right. So my item template, let's take a look and make sure everything looks okay. Looks good to me. That looks good. That looks good, and that looks good. All right. We should put at the very bottom, right before we finish our data list, so right here, we put in header style. That was interesting. So we want a header style there, but we want to set up a CSS class. And we want to set that equal to BG Halloween. All right. And then finally, again, we've got our data source. Okay? So this is all the code. This is correct. Unless I'm missing something. But I think if I run it again, I will get absolutely no data. Okay? I'll just get the drop down with nothing in it. So since there's nothing in it, that means the connection is not being made. Since the connection is not being made, there's no data to show. Something is hosed, evidently, with my connection. So that should have data in it. It does not. All right. I'm not a happy man right now. So let's take a look line by line in the code and see if we can figure out if there's any discrepancy between what's in here and what's in my quote, answer key, unquote. Everything there looks okay. That should be for DDL states because I called it DDL states down here. That should not be enough to make there be any kind of error though. This is my worry, that I look at this and that everything is correct, but I'm still not getting output, which means that the problem is in my connection. All right, it's in my connection string. I do have a little bit of a difference here, and I don't know if, let's see, wait, maybe I don't. Connection string equal. No, it is the same. Well, we called it Halloween connection before, now it's Halloween connection string. But that really and truly should not matter because in here it is called Halloween connection string. So that is correct. Now, according to this, where I had this, select state code, we don't have this. Now, were we told to put that in here? Let's look. That may be where the problem is, so we're going to check. How do I want to check this? I've just got in my key here from states, and I don't have this where statement in here. Don't know if I can literally just remove it like this or if that'll hose things up, but I'm going to try it like that. All right, so I've got the order by. All right, that should actually show me every state. Okay. All right, I'm still going to run through the rest of this. So taking that out means we don't need these select parameters in here. Now, I do apologize for that. All right, so it looks as though I may have written that wrong from the get-go. So let's look at this. This I just put in, and I looked at it pretty well. Let's run it server. Key field is email. Source is the data source. Postback is true. We have no need for an auto postback of true here. This isn't what's changing. Okay, it's the other one that's posted back. So I'm going to save that and try to run it again and see if I've got any better luck. Well, hallelujah. This isn't set up right, so this has got to be, basically set up wrong, because this stuff should be put over here. But Alabama, Arizona, hot dog. All right, so let's fix this, and we've got it to work. So the problem with what I had was the fact that in this original one up here, I had put in a where clause, and putting in that where clause, since I had not yet selected a state, there was nothing to select. Well, that was the error. So let me go back and double check my data list, because there's something wrong here. We'll fix it, and then we'll be finished with this one. So, all right, form group 12, etc. Data list ID, run at. Field, data source ID, CSS class, use accessible header. That's all good. The header template looked like it was fine. That looks good. Okay, I need to be putting those same classes in that I put here. I think that's what's goofing this up. All right, so we need to have CSS class is call XS3. Call XS3. The email, remember, was call XS5. And the state was call XS1. Whoops, Z. That's a 1. All right. Got all that. this is where I want that wear condition. So hopefully, you know, it's getting a little bit better every time I run it. I'm taking a lot more time than I wanted to take doing this. Apologize for that. Alright, well this is definitely hosed. So this is working. That's all working, but I've got stuff double showing here. Something is definitely wrong. The good news is I've got everything showing. That's always good news. I'm going to stop my run here. Alright, I'm going to go back to here. And the problem now is in from somewhere in my data list on down. So sorry. This will go away in a second. Customers, run at server, data key field, data source ID. That all looks good. Class, that all looks good. Span, call access 3. First name span, call access 5. Email span, call access 1. That all looks good. And so the problem looks like it might be in the item template, so that's what I'm trying to look for right now. Close, would you? Alright, so item template, ESP label, run it, etc. Class. Ah, that just says class, not CSS class. And let's save it and try it again and see if that fixes it up. It still has not. Well, the good news is it's working. The bad news is the output looks like doo-doo. So I should have just kept looking through here, and that's what I'm going to do. We shouldn't need, under the item template, why do I have these extraneous headers in here? I don't need this. Oops. I don't even think I need the BR tags that are in here, because that's goofing it up. here. There. And there. All right, I don't think I need these BR tags down here either. I may need those, but we'll see. It's coming together. And there we go. Let's try Old Missouri. And we're done. All right, so I will run off 9 copies, one for each of you and one for myself from this, and we will go on to the next exercise. So I'm going to stop here. This is, what, about 100 lines long? No, about 127, so it should be about 3 pages or 2 or 3 pages. Okay, let me set the printer. Make that my default. Preferences. Landscape. Print on both sides. Okay. And we want 9 copies. Print. That ends this particular lecture.